Overseas Raws are usually pretty good, but this one was brutal. What is up? GoodMicWork back at you with what I hope will be a relatively fun and lighthearted commentary, despite the fact we have a few negative things to talk about, including tonight's horrible Monday Night Raw. It's normally a review that I would skip, but because of my upcoming schedule that I will tell you about in a minute, I figured I better come up here right now so I can at least discuss some things. We can talk about Raw. We can talk about the Survivor Series card that is really shaping up. There's a lot of other news going on in wrestling that we can address as well. And at the very end of the video, I will finally address a few of my political opinions, because tomorrow here in the United States, it is Election Day, and it's a big decision we have to make. I have purposely stayed away from making any political comments in my commentaries because this election process has been so exhausting and so annoying, and the last thing I wanted to do is to bring all this negativity and hate into my channel. There's no reason to bring that shit in here. So I purposely stayed away from it and figured that if I did make any comments on it at all, I would make it right at the end, near the election. That way, if anybody gets pissed off about what I said, it doesn't even fucking matter. This whole thing is going to be over in a matter of hours, and we can all just let it go. You guys come to this channel for wrestling, and that's what I wanted to give you, but unfortunately, this is just a little bit too big of a topic to ignore, so I will mention a few things about it near the end of the video, so stay tuned for that. I want to give you my schedule, my upcoming schedule first. First of all, I want to apologize for not coming up here and doing a SmackDown review last week like I mentioned that I would. I actually had a tragedy strike. Someone close to me, my very best friend, lost her father. I've been a big friend to her and her family for many, 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 many years. And it was very sad, so I was kind of there with the family to show support, and all that happened late last week, so I wasn't able to come up here and review SmackDown and talk about everything I've missed, because I think it's been a couple of weeks since I've talked about SmackDown. And of course, I'm up here right now, which means you're not going to hear from me tomorrow night with the election and everything going on. I'm really not going to have time or really the motivation at all to watch SmackDown and come up here and review it. And it is a taped show anyway. We do have a women's title match, but I don't think we're going to see a title change. So I figured I would skip one more week of SmackDown, and I will finally be able to talk about SmackDown next week. Now, most likely, my schedule for next week is going to be a joint review of Raw and SmackDown combined with Survivor Series predictions, because both of those shows will be holding their go-home episodes. So most likely next week around Thursday, you will get a massively long commentary, probably a good hour, of me talking about both shows, Survivor Series, predicting the show, and anything else we need to discuss. So far, that's my plan. But don't worry, in between now and then, you will have a DVD review. I am planning on uploading my next DVD review finally, that I've been talking to you guys about forever. It should be this Friday. Possibly the weekend if it spills into that, but it's pretty much done. I just have to put a few bells and whistles on it and finish editing it and get it all ready and nice, and I will give it to you. And again, I apologize for how long it has taken me to do one of these. And I've got another one that's going to be coming up right behind that in a couple of weeks as well. So keep a lookout for that near the end of the week, Friday, Saturday, somewhere in there. My next DVD review will be up. And then, like I said, after that, around Thursday of next week, I'll be up here with a joint review of Raw and SmackDown, and I will get extensively into SmackDown and some of the things I've missed regarding James Ellsworth and Dean Ambrose and AJ Styles and that whole storyline, and anything else going on SmackDown that I've missed in the past few weeks. I will spend extra time on that show next week. So stay tuned to the YouTube channel for all of that. As far as Raw tonight goes, let's kind of blow through this because I had trouble staying awake for a lot of this shit. It did come from Scotland. It was taped earlier on today. The spoilers were leaked. I did not read the spoilers. Normally, I always do. Whenever it's an overseas show, I don't care much about them, so I just go ahead and read the spoilers. I don't care that I'm spoiled because I'm not expecting to miss too much anyway. But for some reason this time, I didn't read them, and I stayed on Twitter all night and tweeted during the show and never read any spoilers. Nobody told me anything. I never got anything spoiled by accident, nothing, so I was lucky. However, if somebody would have told me the spoilers, I wouldn't have cared. But it was kind of nice that I was somehow able to watch the whole show actually not knowing what was going to happen. So the big setup for tonight was surrounding the 5 men that will be comprising the Survivor Series team to go up against SmackDown. 4 men were already announced: Chris Jericho, Kevin Owens, Braun Strowman, and Roman Reigns. And they had to announce a 5th person tonight on Raw. Well, Stephanie did that to open the show and announced that it would be Seth Rollins. This was kind of an awkward segment. I mean, both of these teams, Raw and SmackDown, both have completely dysfunctional teams. Everybody on those teams are feuding with each other. So it's just weird. It's just like which team is going to implode the most. Kevin Owens and Chris Jericho insist that they're the co-captains and everything will be fine if everybody just listens to them and does what they say. And of course, Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns and of course Braun Strowman really don't want anything to do with that. Then they all just start brawling together. Stephanie comes back out and says, enough of this bullshit. Let's get all this crap out of your system right now. We're going to set up a fatal 5-way in the main event of tonight's show. All 5 of you fuckers are going to be in a match together and you can just beat the hell out of each other. But come Survivor Series, you better be on the same page. So that pretty much set up the main event. We'll fast forward to that. Pretty funny finish. Kevin Owens actually pinned his best friend Chris Jericho after taking, I think, a Superman punch from Roman Reigns and just falls backwards on Jericho and gets the pin. So Kevin Owens does win the match, which was nice to see because a whole bunch of fucking champs got pinned tonight on Raw. As far as, you know, the dissension in the ranks there and how it might go down at Survivor Series, they're taking on 5 guys from SmackDown that don't exactly get along either. And I think it's a good way of getting some people out of the match. Like take Braun Strowman, for example. I really don't know if they want to have him pinned in that Survivor Series match. So if he starts brawling on the outside of the ring with, say, Bray Wyatt, and starts brawling all into the crowd and they get counted out or something like that, there's lots of different things they can do in this match to get guys eliminated without having to have them pinned. But one guy I might want to see pinned, however, would be Kevin Owens, because who's the champion on the other side? AJ Styles. Remember when AJ came into the WWE at the Royal Rumble? Who eliminated him? Kevin Owens did. And I remember when it happened, I was thinking to myself, wow, that was the perfect guy to eliminate AJ Styles because he got such a huge pop and the fans were so happy to see him that they were probably going to freak out if he got eliminated. So to have another indie guy eliminate him was able to cushion that blow a little bit for a lot of the fans. And so that also means that maybe AJ owes Kevin Owens one, and AJ can be the one to eliminate Kevin Owens from the Survivor Series. We also have Randy Orton to consider, and he's kind of a half heel now, sort of joining the Wyatt family. I don't expect that to last. Whether or not he turns on them at Survivor Series or it drags on beyond that, I don't know. There's also been the rumors that he's not even advertised for Survivor Series. John Cena is not either, so there's also a chance that they could write him off of the team between now and Survivor Series and replace him with someone else. Of course, the main event of Survivor Series is going to be Bill Goldberg versus Brock Lesnar. They had 2 separate video packages tonight on Raw, hyping the match, one from Goldberg's perspective and one from Brock Lesnar's perspective. And next week on Monday Night Raw, it was announced that both men will be on the show face to face. So that will be the Go Home Raw. But the video packages, of course, are really well done, but that really doesn't change my concerns for this match. I mean, the first one was shit, and Goldberg hasn't been in the ring in 12 years, and, you know, what kind of match are these guys going to have? Goldberg looks great, and he's in great shape, a lot better shape than I thought he was going to be in, but still, what kind of a match are we going to see here, and who the hell is going to go over? I've mentioned time and time again, is Goldberg going to sign this big contract, this big money payday for this big match, just to come in and get squashed? You know, after refusing to work for the WWE for 12 years, he's just going to come in now and lose? That seems crazy. But at the same time, we can't really see him beating Brock outright either because that wouldn't make sense. So that opens up the door for interference. And there's been a lot of talk about The Undertaker lately. He appeared at the Cleveland Cavaliers game a couple of weeks ago. People have been talking about him maybe appearing at Survivor Series to plant the seed for whatever match he might have at WrestleMania. And if he makes an appearance in this match, he would have to screw over Goldberg, wouldn't he? And that sets up Goldberg versus The Undertaker at WrestleMania? No way. Who wants to see that? That's not a match I want. It's not a match I think Goldberg is worthy of. And I think it would be silly. I'm not really into that match or a Goldberg or an Undertaker Sting. Just some of those matches we kind of just missed the boat on. And there's really no going back to it. So if anybody is going to interfere in the Brock Lesnar versus Goldberg match, you know who it should be? It should be The Rock. The Rock. 20 years ago at Survivor Series, he debuted in 1996. For him to come back completely unannounced when the internet is buzzing about The Undertaker and maybe somebody else, and then out of nowhere, The Rock surprises us all, shows back up on the 20-year anniversary of his debut and fucks over Brock Lesnar in the match, allowing Goldberg to get the win. and setting up Brock versus Rock at WrestleMania. I could maybe see that. Or possibly Brock versus Rock at the Royal Rumble. Don't forget, Alamo Dome, 60,000 people. You need a big match. It's possible. Not likely, but possible. So when I think about the possibility of an interference or somebody getting in the middle of this match, I don't want to see The Undertaker. I would much rather see The Rock. Maybe Stone Cold Steve Austin could even be a wild card in this thing. I mean, think about it. For the past couple of years, he's been rumored to come back to face CM Punk. Even most recently, been rumored to come back to face Brock Lesnar, of all people. But what's another match that we never got? What is the one true dream match we as fans have left? What is the one match we never got to see and we really, really wanted to see? That was Bill Goldberg versus Stone Cold Steve Austin. And when you think about the style that they both work, and when you think about Bill Goldberg's age, I actually think those two could pull it off. Steve is going to have to be very protected. We're going to have a really good idea about how Goldberg moves around in the ring when he's facing Brock Lesnar. If that's the match they want to set up for WrestleMania, think about that. Bill Goldberg versus Stone Cold Steve Austin at WrestleMania. The seed for that could be planted at Survivor Series if Stone Cold shows up in the match, because don't forget, he was in the ring at WrestleMania 20 as the special guest referee, and he stunned both their asses. So what if he's standing there in between them, trying to decide which one to stun, and he nails Bill Goldberg, allowing Brock to get the victory and setting up Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Goldberg at the Royal Rumble or at WrestleMania. That would be fabulous. As far as what else we saw on Monday Night Raw, the women's match, of course, is getting set up as well for Survivor Series, and they did a segment there with Michael Cole where he brought out the three announced women, which is WWE Ladies Champion Charlotte, Nia Jax, and Bayley. They had two more people to announce. One of those women was Alicia Fox, and the other one was Sasha Banks. Now, Charlotte tried to trick the fans and announce Dana Brooke as the fifth member, but Michael Cole says, no, you know that's bullshit. She's not the fifth member. The real fifth member is Sasha. She comes out, the crowd pops. It was great to see her. A lot of us, including myself, were very sad to see her lose that WWE Women's title. Even though I wasn't as freaked out and pissed as everybody else was, I was still very sad to see it. I loved her as the ladies champion. So it's good to see her kind of back in the mix, and I hope she gets another opportunity, but right now it looks like that might be going to Bayley. So your five ladies are set there to take on the SmackDown team, which I'm not even completely sure who's on that team. I'm guessing Nikki, Becky, Carmella, Alexa Bliss, Naomi, possibly. I don't even know if I'm right. I'm guessing some combination of them. And I think right now, given the strength of the women's division and the performance that Charlotte and Sasha have been giving us at pay-per-views like SummerSlam and Hell in the Cell, I think it could be a good opportunity to help get the SmackDown girls over and have them win somehow. It doesn't have to be clean or anything like that, but right now, I wouldn't mind seeing the SmackDown girls go over, and I wouldn't be surprised at all to see Nikki Bella pin Charlotte in some way. Like I said, not clean, so don't freak out, but her eliminating Charlotte seems very likely, especially since Charlotte has owned Nikki and took the belt off of her and ended that long reign a long time ago. Maybe a tiny little receipt here and a little championship rub for Nikki Bella to own a victory or a pinfall or something over Charlotte could help her status on SmackDown. They ended up having a 6-woman tag match, by the way. That whole segment on Raw set up a tag team match pitting Dana Brooke, Charlotte, and Nia Jax taking on Alicia, Bayley, and Sasha Banks, and Bayley won, pinning Charlotte with the Bayley to Belly. And Charlotte wouldn't be the only champion pinned on Raw, because the New Day, in a crazy, insane segment that was so long, the fucking entrances alone took forever. You had all the tag teams in the ring, and the New Day, the team captains, were going to address the entire team. So you had to sit through all these fucking entrances. Then you had to sit through all of the teams arguing with each other, with Sheamus threatening to walk out and quit, and Gallows and Anderson threatening to quit, and the New Day then comes out there. They're dressed all in their Braveheart costumes, and it was crazy. They were super over. The crowd was into it. Cut a hilarious promo, but the whole thing just fucking drug on, and finally Big E cuts this like Braveheart-type promo, and he convinces Sheamus and Gallows and Anderson to reconsider and rejoin the team, so they're all back together again. Still, nobody likes each other. As a matter of fact, Gallows and Anderson then took on the New Day in a tag team match, and Gallows and Anderson won. So here we have another champ being pinned, And I swear, I don't know what's going on with Gallows and Anderson. One week they're the fucking Ascension, and the next week they're pinning champions. So I don't know what the hell WWE wants to do with these guys, but it's not making any sense to me at all and starting to make my fucking head hurt. Now, that 5 tag team squad that Raw has consists of The New Day, Gallows and Anderson, Cesaro and Sheamus, Enzo and Cass. All these teams are out there in that segment, and it was going to be Golden Truth. But something happened between R-Truth or Goldust and the Shining Stars, and they offered him a fucking timeshare. I can't even talk about this. It's mind-numbing. Stupid-ass segment. I don't even know. Somehow timeshares are involved, and the winner of that match would get the 5th and final spot, and the Shining Stars won. So Goldust and R-Truth have been bumped, which is fine. I mean, I'm all for the veterans stepping aside to let the young guys in, but the Shining Stars are just not over, and the whole thing was fucking stupid. We also had another match set up for Survivor Series. Over on SmackDown, Dolph Ziggler, the Intercontinental Champion, has issued an open challenge to anyone on Monday Night Raw. So I guess Sami Zayn kind of lobbied to get that spot. Mick Foley said okay and said, all right, you're going to be the guy to take on Dolph Ziggler. Stephanie doesn't like Sami Zayn, and she vetoes that and says, Sami, you got to go out there and face my pick, Rusev, and have a match with him, and the winner of that match will get to face Dolph Ziggler at Survivor Series. And Sami Zayn wound up beating Rusev, so it's been a tough couple of weeks for Rusev. He lost to Roman Reigns in the Hell in the Cell. He got humiliated by Bill Goldberg, and now he lost to Sami Zayn pretty much clean, and Sami is going to get the IC title match against Dolph Ziggler, which is great because we've already seen the Dolph Ziggler-Rusev thing and the Summer Rae and the Lana and all that. We don't need to see that again. Plus, I think Sami makes a better opponent for Dolph Ziggler, so I'm happy that match is taking place. Whether or not the Intercontinental title comes over to Raw, I don't know. I doubt it. I mean, I'd love to see Sami grab a belt, but to take that belt away from SmackDown and put it on Raw when you already have the U.S. title there, to me, doesn't make much sense unless they plan on having some defections. Unless Sami Zayn wins the IC belt, brings it to Raw, but later on in the night, Roman Reigns defects and goes to SmackDown or something like that. I don't know. It's also possible that maybe the Cruiserweight division might switch it up. Did you hear about what they're doing? There was a tag team match tonight on Raw, incidentally, between Rich Swann and Sin Cara, taking on Brian Kendrick, and Noam Dar, who's kind of a local hometown guy, got a huge pop. Man, the reaction he got from those fans was awesome. His team lost. Swann wound up pinning Kendrick, and then Kendrick kind of cut a promo on him after the match to kind of really get him over as a babyface, started attacking him, and then Dar fought back and kind of fought him off, and the crowd went nuts for the whole thing. But the big news regarding the Cruiserweight division is they're going to have their own show now on the WWE Network, which I'm really curious how this is going to work. It's going to be called 205 Live, and it's going to start on November 29th, which, if you look on your calendar, I believe is a Tuesday. So what does that mean? When's it going to air? Is it going to air right after SmackDown? If that's the case, it might as well be a SmackDown brand. Maybe they're going to move the Cruiserweight division over to SmackDown and have it on Tuesday nights, and maybe bring the Intercontinental title to Raw. I don't know. They could also do something like that. And I don't know if the new show is going to be a replacement for what we see on Monday Night Raw. If the Cruiserweights have their own show, will they also be on Monday Night Raw? I guess we really don't know that either, or at least I don't know that. Maybe you guys do. So curious how all that's going to shake out. We also have the Talking Smack show, which airs right after SmackDown, so I don't know if they're going to do away with that. I'm not sure really how any of this is going to work yet, but it is a little bit interesting. I think maybe the WWE realizes the level that the Cruiserweight Classic was over does not translate on Monday Night Raw on the big stage, so maybe they want to put it back inside of a smaller NXT-type environment and have the matches that way where there can be great crowd involvement. They're never going to be dead or bored, and you can really focus and highlight the athleticism. And then maybe they can be featured more on Raw, and the fans will know them a little bit more because they have a whole show to themselves that they can watch separately. So maybe that's the motivation there. But I definitely kind of like the idea because so far, what we've seen from the Cruiserweight division on Raw has not been anywhere close to as good as what we saw on the Cruiserweight Classic. So I'm excited about the announcement, and I'm also curious about it at the same time. Is there anything else even worth mentioning on Raw? I don't think there is. There was the story, too, of Chris Jericho and Sin Cara apparently getting in some sort of a fight on the tour bus, or I don't know if it was on the bus or the locker room of the hotel. I don't even remember. I don't know what it is with Chris Jericho. We are always hearing about him getting in fights. He's been getting in fights in locker rooms for years in WWE and WCW. If he's going to make a list, he should make a list of the people that he has not gotten in a fight with, because that list is getting shorter and shorter every day. I don't know who won the fight. The reports are that Sin Cara won the fight. I even heard something about Chris Jericho biting his finger. I have no idea. Chris Jericho didn't look like he was banged up in any way tonight on Raw, and Sin Cara worked a match, so it doesn't look like either one of them are any trouble for this. And I guess you can just brush it off to something that happens. But Jericho just seems to be confrontational a lot. I mean, he got in Brock Lesnar's face after SummerSlam. Remember that story? So Jericho, just where he is in his career and where he is in his life, I mean, I'm glad that he's passionate and everything, but it just seems like somebody who's in their mid to late 40s shouldn't be worrying about trying to fight people. It's just, you're too old for that shit. Jericho always seems to make amends, however, so whatever went down between him and Sin Cara, I'm sure is already swept under the rug. He has a podcast, so I'm sure we will get his side of the story, and he'll talk about it at some point. And I wouldn't even be surprised. The type of guy Jericho is, he'll probably have Sin Cara come on his podcast. A few of you wanted me to mention Scott Hall as well. Yesterday on Twitter, a lot of people were talking about Scott Hall being missing. He didn't board a plane and missed some sort of an indie booking. Diamond Dallas Page, from what I've seen on social media, has not been concerned. He even tweeted something to the effect of, I don't know really where Scott is, but from what I understand, he's okay, so don't worry about it. Scott might have had a relapse, which sucks. I'm hoping, worst case scenario, that's what it is. I'm hoping he just relapsed, he no-showed a booking, he was irresponsible, and he'll resurface here and get his ass back together and get back on his feet is what I'm hoping. I'm hoping it's no serious issue. Still nothing as of yet, as of recording this commentary, from Scott Hall on Twitter, but I don't think anybody's concerned anymore for his health. I don't think he's legitimately missing. He's just kind of keeping quiet right now. As far as the latest on TNA, I don't know. Still a huge mess there with Billy Corgan and Dixie Carter and everything going on there. Looks like there's still a lot of legal bullshit to figure out before they can move forward with anything and before we know anything, so we will just continue to monitor it. And I'm really not going to care too much about it until we get some sort of a conclusion. When we find out whether or not TNA is going to stay in business for the foreseeable future, or if they're finally going to fold and go away. I'll just wait until one of those two things happen to make any more comments on it. Also, there's been some rumors about Hulk Hogan possibly appearing at this year's WrestleMania. I'm all right with that. I mean, I figured WWE would come around. I mean, they had to let all this shit with him blow over. With the idiotic statements that he was busted making. And we kind of figured because of who Hogan was, he would be back one day, and it would be nice to see him at WrestleMania. I mean, Hulk Hogan is a big part of WrestleMania. I've had my issues with Hulk Hogan in the past. You guys all know that. But at the end of the day, I can't deny the fact that he's the Babe Ruth of wrestling, and he's the most recognizable figure, and it just isn't WrestleMania without him. So if he winds up coming back, I, for one, am fine with it. And now on to the delightful subject of the U.S. election. I'm going to do my absolute best not to talk too long about this because there's really no point. We know who the two candidates are. We know how hated they are by the opposite sides. Both sides feel the exact same way about the other. Both sides feel that the other one is uninformed. And it is dividing the country in such a horrible way. It is destroying friendships and ripping apart families, and it's absolutely brutal. And I cannot wait for this whole thing to end. However, I do have a few opinions about it. And one of the things I'm going to say is that I find Donald Trump to be the most horrific and the worst presidential candidate we have ever seen. And before you start freaking out, don't worry, Hillary is not perfect, and I'll talk about her in a minute. But I'm going to talk about Donald Trump first. I don't even know where to start when it comes to describing how offensive this man can be, how delusional he can be, and how flat-out stupid he can be. He carries all these red states that is just loaded with this racism and this hate. The fucking KKK newspaper endorses this guy. He said so many disparaging things about Mexicans, about women. He is just a pompous dick. That's the best way to put it. He is a dick. He is an asshole. He is a jerk-off. And one of the things that bothers me the most about his supporters is that one of the big compliments that they give him, his biggest positives, according to them, and I hear this from everybody that supports him, is that he speaks his mind. We need somebody who speaks his mind. Really? He speaks his mind? You know who else speaks their mind? Mike Tyson. Do you want him to be fucking president? It amazes me that somehow people translate he speaks his mind into truth. Just because somebody speaks their mind does not make what they say true. At the end of the day, don't we all speak our mind? I speak my mind. I'm sure a lot of you speak your mind. We're not always right. This guy has no clue what he's doing. He's completely in over his head. You know, another big compliment that I hear about him and another reason why he should be president from his supporters is that he's a businessman. We need a businessman in the White House. We don't need a businessman like that in the White House. This guy started with a bunch of money that his father gave him. He's filed for bankruptcy half a dozen times, and he hasn't paid taxes in 20 years. How in the world can you admire those business practices? It's always about money to the Republicans. It's money, 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 money. They'll spend trillions of dollars on wars, billions of dollars on useless, waste of time investigations, but yet they get all uppity about giving out welfare because they're worried that somebody might buy a fucking Xbox. They're so ass backwards in their way of thinking, and Trump doesn't make it any better. Trump has single-handedly fractured the Republican Party from the inside out. Even these people don't like him. I think about the last Republican candidate, Mitt Romney. I would French kiss that guy before I would go into a voting booth and vote for Donald Trump. He is an absolute child. You have to understand that. And a lot of people who don't agree with me, I know what you're going to say. Oh, GoodMicWork, you're uninformed. He's good for America. We have to take our country back. Yeah. All those slogans, but nobody analyzes what they mean. What do you want to go back to? When you say make America great again, what do you want to go back to? Segregation? Women not voting? Is that what you're talking about? During Hillary's husband's administration, we had 8 years of peace and a very good economy. In his predecessor, George Bush Sr., he was only in office for 4 years and we went to war. Things got better with Clinton. Things went to shit again with George Bush Jr. when 9/11 happened and we attacked a country that had nothing to fucking do with it. Then we went to Obama and things started to settle down. We captured and killed Osama bin Laden. Gaddafi was wiped from the earth on Obama's watch. He has worked hard to give us universal health care, although I will admit it's definitely a system that needs to be reworked and tinkered with, not abolished altogether, which is what the Republicans want to do, but definitely it needs some work. I know that Obamacare is littered with holes and it needs to be fixed, but it's not enough for you to vote for Donald Trump. That's insane. He's provoked by a tweet at 3 o'clock in the morning, by a Twitter egg, by somebody with 5 followers, and he just shoots off at the mouth. He's literally 9 years old. He never says anything of substance. He never says anything of fact. He was completely destroyed in those debates by Hillary Clinton because she sounded like somebody that was intelligent and knew and understood what she was talking about. He was nothing but sound bites of wrong, and I've got great ideas, greatest ideas ever. Nobody's got greater ideas than me. I'm going to do things that you've never even heard of. What? What are those things? You've never laid out one single plan at all. He has no environmental policy at a time when that is so incredibly important for this planet. We have thousands upon thousands of scientists. 98+% of scientists are all saying the same thing. Many of these scientists, trust me, don't give a shit about American politics, and they are all saying the same thing. We have got to do something about that. All these other nations on board, there's only one political party in the entire free world, one political party on this planet that denies and disputes climate change, and that is the Republicans, because to invest in renewable energy and to care about something like the climate doesn't put any money in their pocket. And to deny something like that, to deny climate change, to deny evolution, for fuck's sake. This is the type of stuff you see on the right that it to me is so mind-blowing. A lot of these people are religious as hell too. And I'm really glad that with an asshole like Donald Trump, religion has really not been a big part of this election, which has actually been nice because it's something that always comes up. If Ted Cruz or Marco Rubio got the nomination ahead of Donald Trump, we would be hearing a lot more about religion. So I'm really glad that it hasn't been as big of an issue in this election as it has in previous elections, which is nice. However, you know, when you think about a lot of these right-wingers, they're very, very religious. And they're all Christians. Well, to be a Christian basically means that you have to believe in a talking snake. You have to believe in a giant ark. You have to believe in a lot of crazy things. So it amazes me that they can full-on believe that a talking snake is 1,000% legit, but climate change is a hoax. Evolution is just a theory. These are things that are so easily proven. They are easily verifiable facts that are just somehow denied by one political party in this world. And it's crazy. So I think with Hillary being on the other side, because she's not my favorite, it really sucks for the Republicans because they actually probably had a chance to win this election because of how hated Hillary Clinton is universally in this country. If they could have had somebody that kind of came in all smooth like Obama did and swept the country off their feet, they might have been able to take care of this woman. But instead, they nominate this person that does nothing but project negativity and hate. It is not a narrative, it is not a theme, it is not an attitude that this country wants to have. It is going to set us back so far when we've made so much progress, when you divide the country like this, and assholes like Donald Trump are the reason that this is happening. He's not bringing people together. He's driving a wedge with some of his behavior and his language. This is a guy that has, no temperament at all. I couldn't believe in the debate saying, I have the best temperament of anybody. Really? I just mentioned the tweets. You can't keep your fucking mouth shut? You interrupt everybody screaming wrong. You're so disrespectful on so many levels. This guy has openly called Mexicans rapists and drug dealers. He has bragged and boasted about sexual assault on women, grabbing their pussy without permission. Nobody's mad that he said pussy. They're mad because he said he can go up to a woman and grab it without her consent. This is the person that you want representing our country. He has mocked the handicapped. He has insulted a POW, John McCain, who was captured. Just completely insulted a war hero like that. PolitiFact estimates that he lies on average 71% of the time. He never cites any facts. He never says where he's getting his information. All he ever says is, I'm hearing. It's just, the guy's insane. This is the guy you want in charge of the nuclear codes. Somebody that's a baby, somebody that's a child, somebody that's so unimaginably immature. And that's probably one of my biggest problems with him is he's immature. I've seen 9 and 10-year-olds with a hell of a lot better personality and temperament than this guy. He's just highly offensive. And on top of that, he's just not qualified at all. He's a businessman. He's a jerk-off celebrity that we've seen on TV and make fun of. I don't care. Donald Trump never bothered me before because he was just a celebrity. We have asshole celebrities everywhere. Kanye West and Chris Brown and Kardashians, all those people. They're complete fuck faces. I hate them all. But they're celebrities. They don't bother me. They can't affect my life in any way, shape, or form. So be an asshole all you want. I don't care. But you cannot run for president if you're one of these people. And that's the thing about Hillary Clinton, is that you can say anything you want about her. You can talk about her scandals, you can talk about her emails, whatever you want, but one thing you cannot say about Hillary Clinton is that she is not qualified to do this job. As a matter of fact, she is probably the most qualified person currently alive in American politics right now to hold this office. She has got world leaders on speed dial. Donald Trump can't even name half these fucking people. Her policies are not perfect. I was listening to Bill Maher the other day. He said something hilarious. He said, to put it in football terms, Hillary has deflated a few balls in her time. But she's still a really good quarterback. And when you talk about qualifications, when you talk about the ability to do the job, she's already lived in the White House for 8 years in the 90s. She's been involved in politics her entire life. Now, as far as all of Hillary's scandals, she's got a bunch as well. But you know what? These emails, all the investigations turned up nothing. The right is screaming, it's rigged. That's another thing Donald Trump is going to say, it's rigged. When he gets his ass kicked tomorrow and he loses by 100 plus electoral votes, he's going to think it's rigged. It's voter fraud. Not by the millions, moron. You never stood a chance in this thing to begin with, and that's not going to change no matter what kind of shit they release on Hillary Clinton. The Benghazi thing fucking drives me crazy. Nobody knows anything about Benghazi. The people that I've seen that are the most mad at Hillary Clinton or Barack Obama know dick about Benghazi. They know absolutely nothing. As a matter of fact, I'm reminded right now of a video by Hank Green. If you guys know who he is, he's a brilliant educator and totally nonpartisan. I will put a link to that video on the screen right here and in the description below. If you want to spend 7 or 8 minutes and actually learn some facts in a fun way about Benghazi, well, not a fun way, that's a poor choice of words, but if you actually just want to learn something instead of just blindly hating one side of this, watch this video. It'll probably be good for you. And it can really, really simplify things when it comes to Benghazi. And I've had people ask me, what about Benghazi? And then I ask them, I'm like, yeah, what about it? What do you know? What are your facts? And most of the time, they don't know shit. None of these things are really good. I'll admit that. This email bullshit, why she wanted to use a private server, I don't know. But they went through all the emails. There's nothing in there. The Benghazi thing, same thing. So some of the things that Hillary has done have been questionable, but none of them have been criminal. And that's the big thing. Everybody's like, put her in prison. Guess what? She's not going to go to prison. And that's what blows my mind is they are so delusional. They're already being a sore loser. They're not even waiting until tomorrow. The biggest things I see on social media is, well, it doesn't matter because once Hillary gets elected, she's just going to be impeached. Guess what? She's not going to be impeached. As a matter of fact, there's a really, really good chance that not only will she not be impeached, but she will be reelected in 4 years because the Republicans have nobody. Unless some Prince Charming comes out of nowhere and America falls in love with him, I can't see anything happening to Hillary provided that she just stays the course. If we don't have any change in the the country and things kind of move along just as they did when Obama was president, nobody's going to have any reason to not re-elect her. And that's another thing that I laughed at that's so stupid at Donald Trump. It was like last week he tweeted out something like, if you go to the polls and you vote for Hillary Clinton, all you're doing is voting for 4 more years of Obama. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, where do I sign up? No problem here. He's so stupid he doesn't understand that that's actually a positive thing. I hear so many people say that Obama ruined the country, and then I say how, and they don't have one fucking answer. Think about it for a second if it was a Republican president that took down Osama bin Laden and did some of the things that Obama has done. The Republicans would never shut the fuck up about it, and they would completely wrap themselves in the American flag, these overly patriotic fucks. Every damn one of them has this enormous red, white, and blue baseball bat shoved up their ass. And they're so crazy. Over-patriotism and overly patriotic people is insane. I don't care if you want to love your country and you want to stand up for your country and all that shit, but patriotism just disgusts me because in most cases the people that are claiming to be patriotic are anything but. Think about what they did and said about Colin Kaepernick, a guy that kept his fucking mouth shut and just kneeled during the national anthem in a non-violent protest that harmed absolutely no one. The only thing that it harmed were people's red, white, and blue feelings. It is so much better to have a protest like that that's quiet and harmless than doing something violent or crazy. It is more American for Colin Kaepernick to exercise his right to kneel during the national anthem than to believe that he should be forced to stand during it. It's just a fucking theme song. That's all. If you want to stand and put your hand over your heart, that's fine. If you want to pick your nose and eat nachos, that's also fine. It's what this country is about. And a lot of people on that Trump side of the fence are very sensitive about their country. And I've just mentioned it many times. I just don't understand any sort of pride like that. National pride, ethnic pride, all that stuff is strange to me because I thought pride is for something that you accomplish on your own, some work that you did to get to that point. You didn't work to become American. You didn't work to become white or black. You just happened to be that. I don't know why you can be so proud of something that you had absolutely no control over, and that's a complete arbitrary accident of birth. So my personal philosophies and way of thinking is much, much different than what you see on the right, which is why I tend to be more liberal and will always usually vote Democrat unless we get a really nasty person. A lot of people think that Hillary is that nasty person. I disagree. And the biggest problem I have with people in this election, I understand it's fine to be fed up and it's fine to be jaded. I'm the same way. I am so sick of this shit. I am just as tired of it as all of you are. But one thing that I absolutely hate from people is when they just throw their hands up in the air and they say, oh, they're both horrible. They both suck. I hate them both. They're both equally bad. No, they are not. Do you want to go with a qualified person with decades of experience and support, or do you want to go with a 12-year-old schoolyard bully? We're not voting for American Idol here, okay? We're voting for the President of the United States, and if I want to feel safe and know that I don't have a sociopath in the White House that can make a crazy fucking decision, Hillary is who I want. And that's with her emails, that's with her Benghazis, that's with her no-fly zones. I will accept all of that and all of those risks over somebody like Donald Trump that to me poses a much bigger threat to this country, and the fact that he just doesn't know what he's doing. He makes George Bush look like Einstein, and George Bush could barely fucking talk on his own. The Secret Service used to have to tie his shoes for him. I used to hate him as president, but I miss him when I look at somebody like Donald Trump. So it's really crazy what this election has done and how history-making it is. I'm very disappointed that this election has had so much hate. I mean, we already got enough of that shit from Obama. I was so happy that this country finally elected a black president. Now we're on the verge of electing a woman president. And take a look at your electoral map. One of the reasons why I've remained pretty much not too passionate about this election, because really, even though I'm surprised as hell that Donald Trump has made it this far, at the end of the day, I am not concerned about him winning this election. He has no mathematical path to victory. There's nothing he can really do. He would have to literally win every single swing state, including Florida, to have a chance, and even then he would just barely win. And that's just not going to happen. Just Google it right now if you want to see for yourself. Google current electoral map 2016, see which ones are blue, see which ones are red, see which ones are your swing states. Right now, the big states, the three big ones are going to be Ohio, North Carolina, and Florida. Hillary is going to take Pennsylvania. She's going to take Wisconsin. She's going to take Michigan. She's going to take all the other states that she normally, or that the Democrats usually take. And if she takes Florida, that is checkmate. If Hillary wins Florida, she is president of the United States. If she loses Florida, she is probably still president of the United States. She just has to win a North Carolina or an Ohio. There's really just no mathematical way for Trump to win, and I have a feeling that he's going to get absolutely demolished in this election. I'm thinking Hillary might have 330, possibly even 350 electoral votes, and all you need to win is 270. So tomorrow will be a really telling day. It should be a really fun day as well. I've already got some steaks. I'm going to throw them on the grill tomorrow night and open up a 6-pack of beer and basically just celebrate the fact that this shit is over. And on top of that, isn't it cool that we're going to see a woman in the White House for the first time in history? It wasn't that long ago that women couldn't even vote. Now, I would take more joy in that if Hillary was a little bit more likable of a person, because there's definitely things about her that I don't like, and if it was up to me, I would have picked Bernie Sanders. But really, when it comes down to Hillary and Trump, there's only one choice. I might not like it, but there's only one choice. So I would be much happier if somebody else other than Hillary was the first woman. But I've always liked Bill Clinton. I don't know why. I just thought Bill Clinton was a great president and a hilarious guy. Yeah, I know he got a blowjob, and that sucks for Hillary. But again, he didn't break any laws. He didn't grab Monica Lewinsky's pussy without her permission. It was consensual. She gave him a blowjob. He cheated on his wife. Whatever. He was still a great president. The very idea that he gets to go back into that White House for another 4 or 8 years is pretty amazing. He could potentially spend 16 years of his life in the White House. So I'm really not expecting any upsets. I mean, I guess you can technically never say never, so I don't want to be too cocky or too arrogant and say, oh, Donald Trump has no chance at all. I suppose something crazy could happen and America could lose their minds overnight, but I really don't see it happening. He got this far, but the truck stops here, ride's over. So anyway, that's my opinions. I'm sure that pleased about half of you, and I'm sure it pissed about half of you off. That's the way politics are. No hard feelings, though. If you go into the voting booth and vote for Trump, at least you are voting. All I want to say to everybody is go out there and vote. For the rest of you, everywhere else in the world, kick back, put your feet up, eat some popcorn, and watch this circus play out from the other side of the globe. I'm sure you guys are laughing at us. Anyway, that's it for me tonight. I will catch you guys, like I said, next week for my Raw and SmackDown joint review and Survivor Series predictions, and I will catch you this weekend for my next DVD review. I will talk to you in just a few days. Until next time, peace.